What's up? So as I said, I want to show you guys on a whiteboard how I see what we're experiencing. I've come to this conclusion through psychedelics, paired with, basically laying down, closing my eyes, and slowing my mind with breathing to the point where I can feel absolute stillness, and there's like this threshold that occurs, right, where I can get my body to absolute stillness, where if I go lay down right now, and I try to be as still as possible, I can still feel my heart beating. I can still feel I'm not absolutely still, but on psychedelics I can reach this point where absolute stillness. At least that's what it feels like, right? Especially in the mind, where the thoughts aren't running. So there's a threshold. So I can hold the stillness or nothingness, whatever you want to call it, and then at that point you start to lose grasp on what time is. So I don't know how long that happens, but after the whole experience I know it's okay, well, it appears it's about 15-20 minutes of that, and then all of a sudden it's it's not really like a daydream so much. It's it's almost an out-of-body experience, I could say. It's it's a place of knowing, where it's just all of a sudden you're this information, which for me can show up in feelings and visuals. Everybody's different, but that's how I've come to understand and come to terms with what's really going on. But all right, I'm gonna visualize that for you. So when I use the word God, capital G, whatever, I use, you could say universe, you could say source, you could say everything, you could say whatever you want when you're talking about the expansiveness of everything, right? So there's I guess for this example, I saw a video that used whiteboard that really stuck with me, and I'm gonna do my best to get this point across. But so if we take the borders of this whiteboard and pretend that they are everything, right? Let's say that within the confines of this aluminum border, everything, this is everything. And then within the everything, there is this thing, this 3D experience we're having, right? That I'm just gonna make a circle. Okay, so in that circle is everything we experience. But outside of the circle is still everything. There are things outside of our conscious experience that is part of everything. All of this is unconditional love, whatever you want to call it, bliss. It's the state that we're ultimately headed back to. But within this circle is the ego, and the ego, as I understand it, is everything that we can perceive, everything that we can experience, like thoughts, like emotions, as in the five senses, and our suffering is created by identifying with these external things, and by identifying with them, we separate ourselves from the everything. I mean, we're both, but it's the identification with it that causes suffering and pain. So I guess so let's take me and you for example, right? Because right now, so I'm just gonna draw a line, right? Okay, so that side is me, right? And that side is you. If you do not have this fuller picture, you know, we're gonna seem separate. Like, I have a name and you have a name. And, you know, when we're talking, I may say things you've never heard of, you may say things I've never heard of, but at the base layer, you and I are the same. So really this line is like it's not really there. It's just the ego, the identification with the ego makes it seem there. If you can dissolve the ego, or you can dissolve your identification with it, this line sort of, it's there, but it's not. Okay, but now something kind of interesting is if we keep dividing it, because, you know, I mean, according to polls or census, whatever, you know, there's how many people on the planet? 8 billion? More? Less? Who knows? A lot. This is 4. This is 4, and it doesn't, like, we're using this is me, this is you, this is my mom, this is your mom. Okay? But that's super generalized, because this goes all the way down. Like, this is me, but you could infinitely divide this into cells of my body, which all are individuated, and you can go smaller than that because, you know, science keeps going smaller, or down to like whatever the, you know, quantum mechanical, like quarks or whatever, you know, like each one of those would be a separation. All right, so I could literally draw lines until this is a complete circle, like until you can't even see any lines, which is kind of the point, right? That's why I drew the circle. It's because if I just keep, I'm not actually gonna draw the lines, all of them, because that would take forever. But if I keep drawing the lines, you know, eventually the circle is going, just fucking filling it in, you know. Eventually it starts to like, eventually, as you'll see, like it's gonna be like, I basically just colored it in, right? Like it's gonna be one circle. When you start to, like, the deeper you go. Like I could draw 8 billion, or like what? So if there's 8 billion people, I could draw 4 billion lines to make us all separate, but we're not. We're not separate. And if this circle was colored in, it would, you know, you could see that. And when you gain this perspective of, like, you know, everything in here is the ego. You know, when you gain the perspective that, like, of you, I'm not gonna say that I have a perfectly clear picture of at the outside of the ego. I just got like a glimpse, right? Like, I'm aware that there's more than in here. That's all I'm aware of. I'm not saying that I'm some fucking yogi, right? Or that I'm God. I mean, semantics, right? But this encapsulates a moment that I lean on every day. Anytime I'm frustrated, anytime and literally anything happens, I think about this every day. That's why I got this tattoo. Like, it's literally this line right here. This is the Hindu symbol for Om, the healing sound. And that line is Maya, an illusion, because this symbol here represents in here. And this line represents this circle, the ego, what we witness, the things that can be witnessed. And then the last part is this dot up here. And that dot is really all of it. And I refer to that line, that's called Maya. That line is also, you know, you could call it the veil, whatever. There's a lot of words you can use to describe it, but, you know, this concept, anytime you have an issue with something, or, you know, I think the most useful for me, or I don't know if useful, the most automatic use for me is death. There's, people have died in my family, but I've never really felt, I guess I was never attached in the first place, because whenever somebody, was told somebody in my family died, my first thoughts weren't, dang, I'll never see them again. Honestly, that's the first time I've ever said that about a family member who's died. My first thoughts are always, well, they're in a better place now. They're out here now. Or, I mean, maybe they have more to learn and they're back in here, but, they at least briefly were given, back in this external space outside of the ego, which if you look into near-death, or what do you call it, near-death experiences, or, where people like die and come back, so many of them have a similar story. And a very common theme on those stories is that when they leave, they realize how heavy the ego is, and then they're like, holy shit, I'm free. I feel amazing. I feel like I'm a being of pure love and light and energy. And these people, there's a couple stories where their experience out there, they come across God, or a figure that I guess to them is God. I think everybody is going to have a slightly different experience of that, but then they're sitting out there because they're like, this is amazing, I don't want to go back. And then they're told they have to go back because they have more to do, and they're pissed. They're like, no, I don't want to go back, it's amazing here. Because they reckon that it's so easy to see outside of this, or how constraining this is, how easy it is to fall victim to it, and how when we divide things, and those lines, that I was representing people, but we divide ourselves into political parties. We divide ourselves in our own mind about being just judgmental about things, like, oh, I don't like her hair, or I can't do this, I can't do that. You're drawing a line. You're drawing a line in your mind, creating separation. Can't doesn't even make sense. You are it. So, like, I guess getting back to the death thing, when you're aware that, like, out here is the state that we are. Like, here is like a temporary, we're here to learn or whatever, we're here. But out here is like, we're a being, we're energy itself. We're unconditional love itself. So when you have a moment like death or something, it's extremely useful. Like, if you do feel sad, or literally, I guess death is not a good example for me. I guess I've spent money on things and fucked them up many times. I've probably wasted a couple $1,000s just breaking shit, right? And this perspective is very useful, because the first thing I can say is, oh, well, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because I'm unconditional love itself. Everything's gonna be okay. Like, let it go. It does not really matter, So you can always leverage this, and I leverage it all the time, and it's been extremely useful for me. And I'm gonna try to illustrate when I had this realization. Dang. When I had this realization, there was a sort of image I saw, and I'm going to attempt to draw it. So I'm going to draw myself as a stick figure, right? Oh, shit. ignore that line on the top for now. Okay, so that line will come into, okay, so that's me, and I'm gonna draw more people, but basically what I saw was that circle, but like it was like this picture of like, that circle kind of like, it's like I was like this drawing of me, or me right here, is like narrowly connected. Like this is like one of those lines I drew right here, and but it's like not like it opens up, and I am this is everything within. I mean, it could have expanded all the way out, right? But like it was just aware that, like, you know, you could also just and there you are, right? It doesn't really shit drawing, but right. And there's an ant. And I could draw a desk. I could draw this whiteboard. I could draw literally everything. I could draw my thoughts if I knew how to draw them. But this image of like a sphere, and you know, it kind of like tapered down. It just showed so clearly that like what it did is it dissolved all of those lines for me. So really what I saw, like, while this is a visualization, I guess, what I really saw damn, this eraser sucks ass. What I really saw was that, like, I could look at everything. Like, I was in my bedroom. I still saw things, but all I saw was that. I really, like, because I am that, everything I looked at was that. So it's like I was seeing myself in everything, which, you know, frames a lot of things differently in your mind. Like one of the things in that moment that I realized was like littering. Like, I've never really liked littering, right? I just felt, you know, first of all, it doesn't look nice, but I realized in that moment, like, you know, when you go into these spaces, like, especially in nature, you know, like, that's when it's that's it, in my opinion, at its worst. You know, it's being extremely disrespectful to, not like to yourself, first of all, but it's being disrespectful to everyone, even though everyone is you. Like, it's like when you litter, or when, you know, if I litter, or, you know, if anybody litters, you're like casting this little, it's like an affirmation of, I don't care about myself. I don't respect myself. I don't cherish myself. It's very interesting what this perspective will do for you, and how it'll make you treat others. And yeah, I mean, I basically see everyone as my brothers and sisters. Like, I guess I would say that, you know, before I had this perspective, but now even more so. Like, now it's like I know it. Like, but like brothers and sisters, that's still separation, and separation isn't real. So, you know, that's why I've sort of like, I think ultimately I'm gonna abandon words. Like, I have to use them to be alive, but sometimes I'll, like, today I went and got a storage unit, and when I walk in there after getting, like, I did this phone call with the corporate office and got everything set up, I walk in and I'm like, how do I have this? How do I say what I want? Like, it was like, what words am I trying to use right now? Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't really think very much. Like I guess I visualize. I'm not really sure how to put it because it kind of seems like words or intentions in my mind when I think, but so many times I've experienced that, like, it's almost like I have dyslexia of the mouth. Like, it's not like the words are fucking slimy, but like I can have an idea, and then if I try to say it, it's like, oh, the translation, it's not one to one. It's like barely 0.1, you know? And yeah, that's how that's my base understand. That's the first thing I ever knew. Like everything else, like well, up to that point, I thought I knew a bunch of stuff. But then I realized that this is the only thing I know is real. Everything else at that point is like, I don't know, this is all hallucination, man. And it works out much better that way, I gotta say. I hope that helped, and maybe I'll use this whiteboard to make some videos in the future. If you have something you want me to explain, let me know. Have a good one.